Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the 2U's of 2U's Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at 2usfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our 2U's Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Marsha. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Recovering from vacation.
Yeah, you had 3 kind of back-to-back vacations. Nice.
I did.
Short, little short trips, but just one right after another.
Yeah. So I think when we last recorded, I had gone to British Columbia for just 2 nights. And then that was before we recorded. And I think I did the 2 other trips after we recorded. So I posted this on Instagram, and I think I even put it in Ravelry. But I just did a little trip around the state, the Washington state. And it was really beautiful. As you know, Kelly, it's kind of, if you go over to Eastern Washington, it's desert. So people who are not from Washington State or are international listeners, Washington State is divided north-south by the Cascade mountain range. So west of the Cascade mountain range, where I live in Seattle, it's wet and we get a lot of rain and it's wet and it's very green and lush. The mountains sort of stop that rain. So when you get on the eastern side of the mountains, it's desert and very, very beautiful.
It's a really rugged, sort of harsh looking, but not like the desert. Not like the desert with cactuses and stuff.
No,
more like
it's very
sagebrush and
Well, and what I wanted to say too, so anyway, it's not flat. There's sections of it are flat, but it's also kind of mountainous too. You're going through hills and because there's few trees or sparse trees, you could really see the geology. And it's very interesting how huge sections are the columnar basalt, which sort of looks like hexagonal shaped columns. And then you get to area that looks like rock, the huge rocks, but they look like whole bunch of small rocks stuck together, but it's actually one solid rock. So it's very chunky looking rock. And then you keep going on to areas where I think I'm not 100% sure. I'm not a geologist, but it almost looks like granite, big boulders. They're kind of wavy looking, super interesting. So if you're from the state, I went over Highway 2, which goes through Index, Leavenworth, Kashmir.
That's sort of the north part of the state, right? That going across, one of the northern routes across the state.
Yes, and so my original plan was to go across Highway 2. I spent the night in Soap Lake, which is a place where people go to take the waters. So it's supposed to be very good for you, the mud and the waters and stuff. So I stayed there one night, and then I traveled up. I don't remember the name of the highway, the number, and it's not important, but I went up at where Grand Coulee Dam is, which is on the Columbia River, which is at one time, I believe, was the largest, maybe it still is the largest dam in the U.S. And really is that dam and all the other dams on the Columbia River where they're providing water for all the irrigation in Eastern Washington and power, electricity. And then I continued over, I picked up Highway 20 and went to Winthrop, where I spent the night. And my original plan was to then continue across Highway 20, which is also known as the North Cascades Highway. And it's very far north. And it's a relatively new highway. I think it was built in maybe the 1970s. And it's only open in the summer. They close it, I think, around October, and depending on the weather conditions. And they reopen it again, depending on the weather conditions, around May.
Oh, okay.
And so my plan was to come back, but when they had closed it the day before I arrived because of wildfires. there's a fire burning called the sourdough fire. So I couldn't go back that way. So I decided to retrace my steps or my path and go over. I thought I would go back over Highway 2. But then I thought, I just came over Highway 2 and it can be very congested westbound. So I decided just to go on down to Ellensburg, which is a college town on Interstate 90, which is the main interstate going east-west through the state of Washington. And I get there, and I-90 is closed.
Oh my God! And and so
I have no idea.
My feeling about when I lived in Spokane, my feeling that I could not get to the west, that I was isolated and trapped, is exactly because of I-90 being closed.
Yes. And in the winter, it does close fairly frequally for avalanche control and clearing the roads, whatever, but they've had, it's
the middle of
it doesn't
summer.
close.
Yeah.
In the middle of summer, and I have no idea why. There was no information I could get, whether there's fires, accident, construction, or just they felt like closing it because
they wanted to trap people
in
eastern Washington away from the coast.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal was. So I thought, well, I have two options. I can just sit in Ellensburg and wait. But I don't know how. I have no idea. Is it going to open in 30 minutes or is it going to open in 30 hours?
Right. Without knowing why, you have no way of knowing how long. Yeah. Yeah.
So I just, right or wrong, I made the decision to continue from Ellensburg down through Yakima. I don't know what that highway is. Now, that is an interesting landscape too. It's like a moonscape.
Is that down very like the along the Columbia?
No.
Okay.
No, it's it's about
I remember this is one of the roads that we went on that time we took that camping trip, right? Okay, yeah. That is an interesting landscape.
I think they put in a new road since we did it, because I remember it being a 2-lane road, and this is actually, 4 lanes, two lanes going in each direction.
Yeah, they probably.
And I remember it being close to the river and kind of windy. So I don't know. Maybe I was on a different road. I don't know. But anyway, I went down that way, and then from Yakima, I headed west, sort of northwest, and I went around Mount Rainier. I went over Chinook Pass, which runs on the north side of Mount Rainier, and then made my way up through Enumclaw, Auburn, whatever, back to Seattle.
Wow.
Anyway, very long day. But I will say, if I wanted to tour the state, it was an excellent route. The road to Mount Rainier and through Chinook Pass, or across Chinook Pass, stunningly beautiful. So beautiful. Yeah. So not happy I had to have that extra 3 hours or 4 hours that I had, but it really was beautiful. So anyway, I got home. Cool. I survived it. It was not. So I still haven't seen.
The universe wanted you to see all of the beauty of your state.
Yeah. And I didn't really see it all because there's a huge section I didn't see, you know. So I was really,
because you didn't go as far east as Spokane or
no,
or the Walla Walla area, which is a whole other.
No. I'm waiting to go to Walla Walla when you come up.
Yeah,
I can't go to Walla Walla again unless you come with me.
Oh, well, I have researched it because I thought my reunion was this fall, and I started thinking, why haven't I heard anything? And so I went on their website to find out about reunions, and the reunion is next fall.
Yes, mine is this fall.
This is, I don't know why I was thinking I graduated in 84, but my senior year started in 83. So my reunion would be in, 23, but no, that's not the way it works. That was dumb.
Isn't it it's when you graduate, right?
Yeah.
You graduated
even though my senior year started in 83, my year of graduation is 84, and they just happen to do their reunions in the fall. So yeah, that's on my that's on my planning horizon for next fall, is to actually go to that reunion and so that would be fun. Yeah. I'm with you there. Well, good. I'm glad you had a good trip, but then you went on another one.
Yes, I got home on a Monday, and then that Thursday of last week, Kim and I went down to the beach. And
nice.
So we were not planning on going to Seabrook. We were looking for something less expensive, but we ended up at Seabrook for 3 nights. Had a really nice time. Saw Jean, who used to own the yarn shop there, and so it was really nice. And but Kelly, we were talking earlier about a title for the episode, and I think it's going to be something about falling out of love. Because and it also relates to my projects, but I love Seabrook. I absolutely love going down there. I know some people don't like it. They always refer, because it is a planned community. A lot of people always refer to it as like the Stepford Wives. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel that way about it. I think that having grown up, and I've talked about this before, having grown up with a family that, teacher, not a lot of money, we camped. And, if you got wet, you just stayed in wet clothes for the entire time you were down there, because in the Pacific Northwest,
nothing will
at
dry
the beach,
out.
Nothing dries out. And, or in sort of mildewy cabins that you got for free because your father would repair a window in it or paint something, that kind of thing. And so to go and stay in a house that's comfortable, no mildew smell, washer, dryer,
kitchen,
hot tub sometimes, nice kitchen. It's really nice, but you pay for that.
Yeah.
And the house that we stayed in this time, my brother and I stayed in probably 5 years ago, and the price is almost 4 times the price as it was 4 years ago.
Well, and the number of people there has really ballooned too.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing. Because I do really love it, but it's so cost prohibitive. Mm-hmm. And now this is the height of the season. It's the summer. We don't typically go. We have not gone for a long time in the summer because the price is so expensive.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the same vibe. It's just a little different. Mm-hmm. Still love it, but it's just a little different. Yeah. And it's just the money is so, for what we paid for, a house with 2 bedrooms for 3 nights is what my brother and I paid one time. The first time he went down there, for a house that slept like 12 people, and we were there a week.
Yeah.
So it's just getting to be kind of just too much. I don't know. So when we were down there, we started looking at other places. On the way home, we stopped at a couple of places to look at to see
some mildewy cabins.
Well, trying to find something, because the other thing too, I'm going to say, when you go on websites like hotels.com or bookings.com to find a hotel or Airbnb, the one thing there's not on there is a smellometer.
Yeah.
And Kelly, do you remember talking about a smellometer? Do you remember when we went and San Luis Obispo for the yarn crawl and we stayed in the trailer?
Yes.
The trailer was fine. That was absolutely fine, the trailer. But the people who showed up to go into the basement, they went into the basement and they came back.
Well, we went in there with them.
There.
We actually
we didn't go in.
Yeah, we did.
No, we. Mm-hmm. Well, I think that the owner took us down there to show it to us. I think the owners went and showed us the basement.
But
then there was a young couple that showed up.
I think we went down with the couple.
Oh, maybe they did. I don't know, but I just remember
the owners were gone. They had gone to some wedding or something. Anyway, yeah.
Oh, maybe that was it. Anyway, but I remember
I think it's in our first episode. It's one of the.
We'll
it's
have
the
to go
episode
back and
called
listen
"The Trailer." A trailer named. What was the name
Clyde.
of the trailer? Clyde. I think. Yeah.
Oh my God, I still have a memory.
Yeah, that's good, Marsha. That's good.
I can't remember some.
But
think
yeah,
it was
so
Clyde.
So I'm sure the story is in that episode. But yeah, that was terrible. That Never stay in an
It was
Airbnb that's in a
terrible
basement.
mildew odor. Yeah.
They left.
And I remember, but the couple came in, they went in, and then they just turned around and left and got in their car, and they never came back.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, we thought
Anyway,
maybe they were going for dinner, but then
They never came back,
Yeah.
So that's the one thing is there is no smellometer on Airbnb and hotels.com. Anyway, but enough of that. Should we get to projects? Because I will talk about my other project I've fallen slightly out of love with. But anyway.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. Before we do, let me just give my weather report because I know everyone is wondering. So we're going to have mid-70s again today. Hooray! First time all summer that we've had temperatures all the way up past 75. So I'm actually out in the garage as we speak because I didn't want to sit inside and miss a part of this day. Pretty humid. They were saying maybe we would have rain, but we did not. And now the clouds are gone and it's beautiful and blue and it's warming up. And so
nice.
That's my weather report. I am happy with our weather. I feel bad for everyone who has lost so much in the wildfires, the one you talked about, and in Maui. Oh my gosh. Terrible. I feel for everyone who has experienced that element of climate change. But I have to say I'm happy that we finally reached the mid to high 70s in Salinas. So, okay.
Well, I did text you the weather on the Washington coast that there was a heat advisory.
Yes.
Because it was going to be 68 degrees.
Yes.
I don't understand that.
We get those too. And I think it's because of the county sends out that information. And so parts of our county, Monterey County, would be quite high. But I always felt like it was my phone taunting me when it would say, we're going to have 68 and we needed a heat advisory. I always felt like that was somebody in the app had heard me on the podcast and was taunting me about our weather, making fun.
Well, to your point, I think you're probably right about that because we were on the coast, right on the beach. So it's 68 degrees on the beach. And actually that day the fog rolled in and it got I posted that picture of us all cold, right? We weren't cold, but damp, just damp and windy. But then when we left yesterday driving home, we stopped at a rest stop just outside of Aberdeen, Washington, which is further away from the coast, still in Grays Harbor County. And we got out of the car and the car said it was 92 degrees at the rest stop.
Yeah.
So I think they're talking, to your point, they're talking about the entire county.
Yeah.
But when you're on the coast, you have different temperatures, right? All over the county because, anyway.
Yeah. Lots of microclimates in coastal counties.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, okay. Are we ready for projects now?
Projects. Go ahead, Marsha. No, go ahead with yours.
Do you want me to talk about them? Okay. So I finished the Anzula socks. I'm calling them finished. I have to weave in the ends,
that's nice.
I'm calling that finished.
I
finished
those
that.
Have been going for a while.
Yes, a long time.
I was going to start making jokes about the Pismo beach socks when you brought them up, but now I can't because they're finished.
Yeah, they're finished. So you can't taunt me about those. No. Anyway, and then and I finished the Bankhead hat that I was making for Ben. I finished that.
Nice.
I've not posted pictures of them yet. I will do that. The blanket.
Oh.
I'm down to don't get excited, Callie. It's not done. Everybody's like, "Oh my God! I hope that's done."
I bet you're close, though. I bet you're I'm really close.
I'm very close. I have 3 balls left.
Ooh,
but I have to say, I'm only working on it at home. I've talked about this before. It's too big, so it did not go with me around the state. It did not go with me to Canada. It did not go with me around the state, and it did not go with me to the beach. There's just not room in the car for it anymore. So I've only been working on it in the evenings. But now I'm back for a while and I'll get it done. I bet I'll have it done. Okay, I should not say this.
Go ahead.
I'm betting I'll have it done before we record next.
Yeah, I think you will.
I think.
Yeah.
I think
because
I will.
each ball only gives you about 2 inches, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that. Okay, I'm going to go a little out of order compared to what I wrote on here. The Snowflower, my pullover by Heidi Kirrmeier, and the last episode I had bought a 4th color, the rose, and I wound all of that in 2 balls, and I swatched for gauge, and I did a little. I did just the stockinette of the body, which is no color work, and then I did a section of color work, and it looks so much better than. Remember, I was doing the color work for my brother's sweater. And it's so much better looking. And I think it's not me. It's that yarn. It's that heavy yarn that for my brother's sweater is difficult. This looks beautiful. I think I might have this one. I'm hoping.
Nice.
So I did not bring it with me to the beach because we had limited space in Kim's car. So it did not go with me. So I didn't work on that at all. But I did before I left. I did that gauge swatch. And then I did cast on. Do you remember in the last episode I had bought the hot pink and lime green for a tea cozy?
Oh, yeah.
The Nanny Meier Tea Cozy. I'm working on that right now as we're talking. And I'm almost done with the first side. I have maybe 2. I think I have about 6 more rows. And then I'll start the decrease. And I'll tell you why I worked on that exclusively in a second. And then I did make a project for the Santa's laundry line.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that is really cute.
But I did not bring it with me. I had it packed, and then I thought, I'm only there 3 nights, and I'm really going to focus on spinning because I brought my I'm calling it flowers from my garden, but my spinning project because I'm going to spin exclusively, and then I thought I'm not going to pack all these other 2 projects. So I left those at home, the Snowflower and the Santa's laundry line, and was just going to work on the my spinning. So now here's my other little story about falling out of love.
Oh, no.
And it has a positive end. So let me just say I've had a lot of problems with my the EEW 6.0 spinning wheel, electric spinning wheel from Dreaming Robots. And when I first got it, it was great. Like you would just hit the pedal to start it and it would just start. And as time has gone by, I've had to, when I push the start button, I have to give it a little flick with my finger to get it moving. And then over the last month, it's been terrible with, I have to have it all the way up to the highest speed to get it to turn at any. And then if I have any tension on it at all, on the take up, the Scotch tension, the motor just stops. And it got really, really bad down at the beach. And so I went online and I went through the entire troubleshooting forum on Dreaming Robots Ravelry discussion thread. Mm-hmm. And there's like 500 and there's a lot of discussion in there. And I had some ideas, like one of the things is to reset you turn the whole machine off and you turn the dial, the speed dial all the way down to 0 or 1, the lowest setting, or just off. And the switch that makes it turn S or apply S or Z, you turn that on, switch it back and forth a bunch of times. That's supposed to reset it. Didn't do anything. And then I went online and I read, I found that Maurice from Dreaming Robots has also a troubleshooting YouTube video. Is if your motor it stops and it's running slow. Mm-hmm. I did all the stuff he says, and after that, completely dead in the water. Nothing. And the fully charged battery, dead, completely dead. So I emailed him, and he's very responsive. I only have high praise for Maurice and how he's responsive. And when I said, this is what's going on, this is what I've done. I've watched your tutorial and everything. And I said, I think the motor's died. And he just said, I think I had to laugh. I have this long bullet pointed email about this, this, and this. And he has one sentence he sends back. He replies, which like, your motor's failed. You have a defective motor. I just have to laugh. That's the difference between men and women.
Right.
Women, so many words, and men, so few words. Anyway, so he said, I'll send you a new motor. But he said, you have to get, I don't know how to describe it, but it's like there's a silver disc that attaches to the motor that the drive band goes on. And I have to take that off, and I can't, and at the beach, I was not able to get it off. So he said he wants to know if I can remove that piece. I think it's the drive wheel, I think is what it's called. He wants to make sure I can get that off before he sends me a new motor. Because I think if I can't get it off, I'm going to have to send my wheel back to him and have him do it. I think so. Ben is in town, and so I'm hoping when he comes by this afternoon, I'm hoping he can just hold it, because he said since Maurice said since the motor is dead, and he's sending me a new motor, it doesn't matter if I damage the motor in any way. I was being really careful because I didn't want to damage the motor, but now that I know it's dead, he said just yank it off. Well, I don't really have the strength to do it, so I need Ben to hold something, help me with it.
Yeah.
So when I said falling a little out of love, I was definitely falling out of love with my electric eel. And I was actually in this podcast, I was going to say how high I was on it. And I was less high on it because it was just so difficult to spin on. Now I realize it's not the wheel's great. Mm-hmm. It's just that I have a defective motor. And once that part is replaced, I'll be back. Because Kim had hers with hers, and we got them the same time. Yeah. And hers, no problem. I mean, hers, all this stuff that I'm having problems with, she's had none of those problems. So it really, to me, that's why I thought it's got to be a defective motor, and it is. So I think when I get my new motor, I'll be back in love.
Yeah. Yeah.
But right now we're having a trial separation. Well, we need some space.
Yes. And you need to get back to your frame of mind of, not being outside and taking it on trips, but just that, because you can take you really can't because you didn't have room in the car, but theoretically you could have your other wheel in all those places. But when it gets to be winter and you're lying on the bed with your bourbon.
With my whiskey.
Yes.
And my poodle.
And your poodle. And you're able to spin lying on the bed with your electric eel, you're going to be happy. You'll be back in love.
And the thing is, I was so frustrated over the last month. I was actually thinking, I kind of thought I'm just going to switch back to, I'm done with this. I'm going back to my little Herbie. But I've been spinning on this one. So I was kind of like, this may be not true, but I was kind of wondering if I've been spinning on one wheel, if I switch to another wheel, am I going to spin will the yarn be different because I'm spinning differently?
Could be.
I don't know. Maybe that's completely not even a thing. I don't know.
No, I think it definitely would be. And you would, if you wanted it to be the same, you'd have to be conscious of that.
Yeah. So I think it's I think I'm going to be back to singing the praises of the electric eel when I get my new motor.
Yeah.
But, and I have to say, Maurice, who's the designer and the owner of the company, is very, very, and this is what I've heard. He's very responsive, and I can attest he's very responsive. And you're not just out there on your own. He helps you.
Right. Which is I have a feeling, in case anybody's listening and thinking, whoa, but what Marsha had to go through first, I have a feeling if you hadn't felt like, you had to do all that troubleshooting on your own first, like, wait, what's going wrong? You could have saved yourself reading 500 posts.
Yes,
probably,
I was
by
yeah, I was
just letting
trying
him
to
know what was
yeah.
happening, and he would have said, "Oh, sounds like you're
I
a
probably should
defective
have
motor."
emailed him. Yes, to your point, I should have emailed him earlier. But I have to say, I was very frustrated because I was down there. I thought I'm going to be down there for, 4 nights. I'm just, because we're in the middle of the summer spin-in, and because I was doing the weaving and the floor stuff, I haven't really been spinning. So my idea was like, I'm just going to have all this time down there to spin. And I was very frustrated. And so I just sat there and thought, I'm going to go through all these posts, which I did, and send that email. And then I finally just thought, I need to put this away. So I disassembled everything, I packed everything up, put it away, and I thought, I'm just going to work on that tea cozy.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm going to do because I felt better when I just like, okay, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting it away, and I'm just going to have to wait for the problem to be resolved. And he did. I mean, even before I left the beach, he said, yeah, I'm going to send you a new motor, no problem. So
Nice.
yeah. So that's what's going on with that. And then my last thing, I have absolutely nothing to report on my carpet removal floor restoration project because I'm down to the last quarter round. It's all cut and ready to be installed in the entrance hall and the hallway and the closets. And I don't think I mentioned this this happened after we last recorded, but the compressor, Ben's compressor and nail gun.
Mm-hmm.
The compressor, when I went to do it, before I left on my trip around the state, the compressor wouldn't hold pressure.
Oh, no.
You could hear air leaking out of it. And to make a long story short, I found out after trips to the hardware store, and of course, he's climbing and there's no cell service. I finally hear from him that there's on the tank, there's a valve at the bottom that you're supposed to release to let water out, because apparently it builds up water as air is going in and there's moisture and air. You can get water in there and you need to drain the water out, because if it sits in there, it can rust the tank and it can be dangerous if there's a weak point in the tank. And in between the last time I used it and the time then he put air in his tires of his car before he left to go climb, he opened that valve and drained it and didn't close it. So I could hear it leaking. Mm-hmm. But here's something I did not know is, do you remember, isn't it righty-tighty, lefty-loosey?
Yes.
So on this one, it's the opposite. You turn it to the right, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So you turn it to the right to loosen it. You turn it to the left to tighten it. And the reason you do this is if you loosen the valve, that seals the valve. If you, it's completely counterintuitive. If you tighten the nut, you are opening the valve, unsealing the valve. So I now have tightened it so much, it's even open more. So it's leaking. It kept leaking more, which explains why. But I need to get a ratchet set because I can't with the pliers. I'm afraid I'm going to strip it.
Yeah.
So that's where I am. If it isn't one thing, it's another thing. So
you're a little out of love with your project too, your carpet project.
I'm a little out of love with my floor. And all my relationships with all of my projects are, yes, I'm on we're having a trial separation. As all relationships, sometimes you need to go to separate rooms of the house. Anyway, I think today I'm going to go out there and see if I can find the right ratchet set. And so this week I'm hoping I'll get this floor finished by Christmas. This is my goal now.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, so enough of my sad stories about my love affairs with my projects. How about you? Okay.
All right. Well, I'll tell you about my projects, Marsha. Right now, I am picking fleece. That's one of the reasons I'm out in the garage, because I thought, I don't have a knitting project on the go that I can grab, but I do want to get this fleece carded. So I'm out in the garage picking this fleece that I dyed. And this is the Corriedale Targhee Merino that I've talked about before. Mm-hmm. I put a little bit in the dye pot, and then another day I put a little more in the dye pot. I've spun some of it already into a blue purple, I know I have talked about that, but I've now dyed some, it's blue green that I'm picking this morning. Yesterday I picked and carded an orange red. And then I have a box of just blue, like dark and light, or, places where it was almost white and places where it's super dark blue. And then I guess that's it. Oh no. And then I have another batch that I dyed. This is the final part of, I think it was like 3 pounds. The final part of the 3 pounds where I dyed it red and with red and purple, but left lots of it undyed. I mean, that's what happened in the dye pot. I didn't put in as much dye. I actually used a brown too.
Oh, interesting.
But you can't really tell. The brown kind of mixed with the purple and just made it darker. Because I don't see any bits of this that are dyed brown. And I kind of did put the brown in places where it was either really close to or on top of other dye. So anyway, it's going to be very interesting. I don't know if I'm going to card the red and purple and white by itself, or if I'm going to throw it into some of these, the blue or the blue green. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do with that yet. But anyway, so I'm picking this blue green, which is very dark, and it's crocking all over my hands. My hands are blue. It's funny because the dye pot was clear. I didn't have excess. It didn't seem like I had excess dye in the dye pot for this particular batch, but it's coming off. So I'm going to have to make sure I give it a good rinse once I've spun the yarn. But I'm kind of excited to have a box of fleece. Once I get this done, it'll be one of my batches of fleece will be totally used up, which will be nice.
So
that's
and
one
then
project.
Is this in your projects?
Well, I was thinking that it was, but I don't. Oh, so yes.
And the dyed. Let's see. I'm looking here.
Not so. The fleece project is called Cori Cross Targi Cross Merino Fleece. It's in my hand spun, and it shows like gray. The skeins are showing up as gray skeins on my project page. So those are actually the blue purple ones.
Okay, I got it. Here's the two grays. I see this. Okay.
Yeah, and they look gray, but if you look at the pictures on my project page, the lighting was just bad on that one. They're purple, and then if you look at the very bottom picture, you can see there's a pale blue. There's some pale blue fleece next to the multicolor that turned out to be that blue purple once I carded it all together. And so I think I'm just going to add to that project page. Since then, I've dyed the blue green and the other one with the purple and red. So I'm hoping to get kind of a reddish purple or a pinkish purple to go with the bluish purple, a blue green. And then I have that orange red that I carded yesterday. It's not finished being carded. It's only gone one pass through the carder. So it'll go at least one more time through the drum carder. So it'll be more well blended. So once I'm done, and I'm hoping I can get done this week with this, I'll have a box, or I'll have a couple of boxes of bats that I can then spin. So that's one project, my fleece. And this, I did look it up, and this is the fleece that I took to be processed into yarn. But I kept some back for myself. Okay. When I did that. So it'll be interesting to compare the yarn I spin out of it with the yarn that was mill spun out of it. And then speaking of comparing, mill spun with my own hand spinning, I also worked a little bit on the Corriedale Border Leicester fleece that I have that was some fleece I kept for myself when we brought that in to be processed at Ranch of the Oaks way back when. And I've been carding that, flicking the locks open and then carding the locks in order, in line, aligned, keeping them aligned and carding them, and then pulling it, carding twice, and then real slowly, and then pulling the fiber off of the drum carder with the diz to make sort of combed, sort of combed fiber, but not really combed, sort of pseudo combed top. And so I added another 2 ounces of that. It's kind of a long, kind of a time-consuming process. So I'm not sure I'll keep doing it for the whole fleece. What I probably should do is spin a little sample and see if it really makes a difference from the, spin a little sample from the bat, and then spin a little sample from the pseudo comb top and see if the samples are different at all. Because it's a lot of extra work if it doesn't make that much difference in the spinning. So that's that project. And again, I can compare that to that yarn that we had processed, mill processed at Ranch of the Oaks. And Border Leicester is a luster fleece, so it'll be nice and shiny as a yarn. You want to keep all the fibers aligned so you can have that shine coming through. Right. So that will be nice, but it will also be a more coarse yarn. Now with it's sort of pin drafted. By the time you pull the roving off the carder with the diz, it's pretty small roving. I was kind of thinking, it might be good for a rug, but I think for me, it might spin a little bit finer than I would like for rug yarn. It might be challenging to spin it thicker, I don't know. I haven't sampled it, so I don't know that for sure. But anyway, that's been a fun spinning project. I might be getting ahead of the project, but are you thinking of doing a single, or are you going to be plying it, or plying? Probably a 2-ply. Okay. Just because that would give me more yardage to use, with the same amount of spinning. But a 2-ply might still be too fine. Once you kind of attenuate a roving to a thin amount of fiber, it's kind of hard to spin a thicker yarn. And I'm thinking that might happen. I don't know. I'll have to test it. I'll report back once I've tested it. Because I haven't spun any of these little nests that I'm making, so I really don't know for sure what it's going to come out to be once it's spun. But it's kind of fun to do a new process. But the locks are really pretty and shiny, and they're super chunky. There's a lot of them still in lock formation in the bag. So it's kind of fun to flick the locks because it's easy to find, locks in the right formation to be able to do that process. So that part of it's been fun, but it does take longer. You don't get as much bang for your time buck. And I have to say, this summer, thinking of falling out of love with things, it's not really falling out of love, but this summer I have really struggled to be able to do all the things I like to do. Between the dog training and the spinning and the knitting and the weaving and the gardening and then I've been trying to do a little more cooking to kind of help out Aunt Betty so she can have more days off. And I'm kind of like, I might be a little out of love with having 100 projects. And I haven't played piano at all since finals. Since finals came, I haven't played the piano at all. I haven't done any Duolingo on my, app to review my Spanish. It's like, okay, maybe I hit the limit. or maybe I'm just getting old and I just don't have the stamina for this many projects. But yeah, and then trailer camping, all of these things adding up. It's like there's a lot of stuff in my life going on, And not that I'm complaining about that, but it's like, okay, can I really fit everything in that I want to do?
Yeah.
And I think the answer might be no.
You might have to change it to 99 projects.
99 projects, that's right.
Your handle. Well, I have to say, I don't work. You work. I don't have a job outside of, I still don't. I would think that I would be able to just take a day to do fiber stuff, like just get lost in fiber stuff, but it doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
So not to be Debbie Downer to people who think they're going to retire and spend, I'm going to have all this time to do fiber stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. Sort of like when Ben was born and I was going to have 3 months off work. So I was going to get all this knitting done. Do you remember? You're just going to be sitting around knitting. Didn't work out.
Well, and that's why
way.
I sent you all that yarn. So you could do your knitting.
That's not the way our lives work,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and my summer has not been the same kind of summer off. I've been at school at least once a week, basically every week. Every week of the summer since I'm doing the Senate president thing, which I knew there was going to be some limitations on my time with that. But on the upside, school starts so next week. So this is Monday, and this week it's like 2 weeks till school starts. So I have this week. Next week is the week before school starts, and I have almost every day something going on having to do with, new faculty or the start of the school year. Mm-hmm. So this is my last week of, I'll say, quote, no obligations.
Yeah.
So I want to try to get as much done as I can,
Yeah.
But what I was about to say is the bright side is, if I were teaching this year, I would be spending this week frantically getting my course shell ready for the class I'm going to teach.
Yeah.
Because more than likely, it again would have been a totally new prep, something that I hadn't taught online before, and I would have to be getting my online course ready, which has been a big, that's been a big issue for me. I don't have to go back into it.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work to get an online class ready, and I'm not having to do that. I mean, my friends who are very successful online teachers, they basically have their entire course ready the day the classes start. Mm-hmm. Not that students could go into any part of the course, but the course is already built. Every week of the class with all their activities are all built, and they might need to tweak things a little bit, but it's all built, and I have not been able to master that, which is one of the reasons I'm having such a hard time. So anyway, my millions of projects, my 100 projects might have to go down to 99. We'll see. So let's see, where was I? Speaking of projects, so in addition to my own, I didn't say this, I did finish the Pride socks using the Weird Sisters Wool Emporium yarn. They turned out great. On the cuff, I used 76 stitches because I wanted a little bit bigger cuff than what Robert has on his socks. And come to find out, he likes these socks and the way they fit. So he only thought he wanted socks that were super tight. He wants socks that stay up, is what he cares about.
He needs garters.
And I don't know. Yeah. And he's not worn, he's tried these on, but he hasn't worn them because they're a gift for someone else. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if 76 stitches will work for his cuff. But so in the cuff, because of the 76 stitches, is very interesting to me. Half the cuff is the red and purple part of the rainbow. Mm-hmm. And the other half of the cuff is the yellow and green part of the rainbow. And then in between is like orange and turquoise. Mm-hmm. So like the transition from the purple and red is a green and turquoise, very small section, like 2 ribs are alternating. Like as you look down the rib, the stitches go turquoise, orange, turquoise, orange, turquoise, orange, right? Okay. And then that transitions into green, yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow. And that's about half little less than half of the ribbing.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have, again, the turquoise orange little section of about 2 ribs. And then you're back to the purple, red in the ribbing. Very interesting to me that basically half the ribbing on each side, and this happened for both socks. There's a small difference between the two. I thought I started at exactly the same place in the skein. I tried to make sure that I started each sock with exactly the same spot in the color changes. There's a slight difference, but once that little difference was worked out, the 2 cuffs are almost identical. And then they start into stripes, and the stripes, I can basically line them up. And that's because it's a spiral. It's not really stripes, it's spiral pooling. Mm-hmm. But they basically line up. And then I did the heels from the outside of the ball.
Oh, right.
Even though that was not planned to start at the same place, I didn't even think of doing that. The heels turned out pretty much exactly the same.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And like the part where you turn the heel, identical. The heel flap part is not exactly the same. But by the time I got to the place where I was turning the heel, again, still using the outside of the ball, the 2 little bottom parts of the heel are identical, matched.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And then I got a little bit of a larger stripe in my spiral pooling for the gusset, which I expected. And those match up exactly. And then back to the spiral pooling, the spiraling stripes for the foot. So they turned out for socks that are a gift to someone who might expect their socks to look alike. They couldn't have turned out better. They couldn't have turned out better unless I used one of those yarns that was designed, like start here, like those Arne and Carlos ones that you made.
Yeah.
Start here on both socks. Here's your 2 balls of yarn that are identical. And I didn't do that. I just knit from one ball and then tried to kind of put the starting place the same for both of them. But they're really nice. I like this yarn. This is the Weird Sisters Wool Emporium Lorelei, which is a sparkly yarn, but it's very subtly sparkly.
So I have to ask you, because they're a gift, and I think the last episode, we put out the question, why do people block their socks? And one of the comments was, for gift giving, you block them. Are you going to block these socks before you give them as a gift?
Yes, not on sock blockers, but I am washing them, and I am going to lay them out really flat and kind of make sure they don't have any wrinkles so that they look nice. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if I've done that. I always wash them before I give them as a gift. But I don't know if I've paid that much attention. I don't wash them in the washer.
Yeah.
But I wash my own socks in the washer if they're washable. Sometimes. Yeah. And sometimes if I'm hand washing some that need to be hand washed, I'll just wash all of them.
Yeah. We got a lot of comments about why you would do it. And I think I think maybe we had mentioned this, but if you have something with lace, or that you want to. And there was a lot of discussion about, several comments about the mystery knit along sock, from Stephen West. Oh, and I've seen that one, that people have posted their finished sock, and that one I could see where you'd want to, block it.
I don't know who it was that posted them unblocked and maybe blocked, maybe a comment. Anyway, I could tell. It was funny because it was posted shortly after someone said that in our Ravelry thread that those particular socks really look a lot better. I think it was Knitting Travels who said that they look a lot better when they're blocked. And I did see someone on Instagram post them unblocked and thought, oh yeah, okay, that's an example of a pattern where, especially if you were giving them as a gift, but even on your own feet, it might be good to at least block them the first time. Yeah, yeah. So they don't look all kind of wrinkly.
Yeah.
But that's a cool pattern.
And then,
so
Okay. Oh, you have another project here. No, you have another project here because I want to ask you a question, but I'm going to wait till you're done.
Yes. Yes. So that isn't all of my projects. So when we went camping, we went to Mount Madonna for 3 nights, and I decided to bring some projects that my mom had handed over to me. Mm-hmm. She had them in a nice little container, and she just said, here, take them. The last time we were at their house, she said, oh, I have something for you. And I thought it was because she wasn't knitting anymore, because she gave me also a bunch of, prior to that, she had given me a big container of acrylic. Oh, you remember, because I brought it to Knockers.
Yeah, yeah.
Her big acrylic. So she has not quit knitting, but she quit on these 2 projects. And she wanted to get rid of yarn. She doesn't knit from leftovers, right? If she wants to do a project, she goes and buys the stuff and does the project, which I think mostly now is like baby blankets for people who are having a baby that she knows, neighbors or, and she says she can't knit for a really long time like she used to be able, like she used to do, oh, I need a baby blanket. Okay. And at the end of the weekend, she was done. Like that's what caused the problems in the first place. And she can't do that anymore. But anyway, what she gave me, a really cute project that she had talked about is called Chicks in a Basket. And I'm pretty sure I think it's a Mary Maxim pattern. I think it is. Anyway, she had bought it as a kit. And she had made the basket, which is out of like one of those camouflage color cotton yarns, like a dishcloth cotton that's in kind of a camouflage color, gray and brown and beige. And so Chicks in a Basket, and she had made the basket, and she had started one of the chicks. And I thought it looked right because it had like a little bump going out the back, which I thought was the tail. Well, come to find out, that's not what was supposed to be happening, because the tail is separate and then sewn on. Okay. Because she had talked to me about this project before and said, well, it has this bump. And I said, well, isn't that the tail? And she's like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be going right. It's a crochet pattern. I just can't do this pattern. It's terrible. I'm having trouble. I can't. Well, no wonder she was having trouble. What's the hardest part of crochet?
Reading the pattern, I think. But
well,
for me, reading the pattern.
Reading the pattern is one. And this pattern, I have to say, is not the most informative.
I would also, do you want to know my other answer?
Yes.
I would say for me, the hardest part is where do you put the hook? What hole do you put the, yes.
And so these chicks, so the basket's made out of just dishcloth cotton. These chicks are made out of a yarn called Mary Maxim Scrub It. It's a scrubby yarn.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the project page. So if it's for scrubbing, it must be kind of rough, is it?
It's rough, a little bit rough, and it's like a ribbon tape with all these little loops sticking out on one side of the ribbon tape. So ribbon tape is hard enough, and then you've got all these little loopy things sticking out from the side of the ribbon tape. It's pretty much impossible to tell where's the hole that you're supposed to stick your hook into, right?
Right.
And then if you ever need to count your rows, good luck. Like if you lose track of which row you're on, I mean, really, just good luck. And making sure you have the right number of stitches that the pattern says you're supposed to have, again, good luck. You can barely see the stitches at all. So I was able to rip out the one that she had like a tumor happening on the chick. I was able to rip that one back to a place where I could recognize what to do next. But even that I had to rip back further than I would have ordinarily with a regular yarn. And then I followed the pattern, and it really wasn't clear whether you were supposed to chain and turn or whether you were supposed to spiral. But because it said chain, I figured chain one. I figured, oh, okay, this is one of those where you chain one and turn back. So I did that. Not the most clear pattern. Anyway, so I made the one morning while we were camping, I just sat and I fixed the one chick and I made the other 2 chicks. And then, okay, so you remember my problem with the bee movie, right?
Yes.
Yes. Wasn't it Tom Hanks? Was the voice of one of the bees?
No, I think it's Jerry Seinfeld. Wasn't it his movie?
Oh, yes, Jerry Seinfeld.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Actually, it doesn't really matter which one of those two it is, but worker bees are not male, right?
Yes.
There's something wrong with a movie that portrays the bees going out to work as male. Mm-hmm. So here is a pattern for chicks in a basket. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're yellow. No chickens are yellow, right? Mm-hmm. Chicks are yellow, not chickens. And they had combs. Chicks don't have combs on the top of their head. They don't get that till they're mature. I mean, they have teeny little like proto combs, you know? Mm-hmm. So I didn't do those. I skipped the combs, made the chicks. One of the chicks was supposed to be dark brown with yellow eyes, and I was like, no way, I'm not doing that. They don't have light eyes. But of course, if you do a dark brown one, you aren't going to be able to see the eyes. Mm-hmm. So I did 2 yellow ones, 1 beige one. They are cute. You stuff them with net. And I was like, why in the heck are you stuffing these things with net? And then I realized, and it says nothing on the pattern about this, but my mom said they're designed to be like actually like scrubbies. Like you stick this on your counter and you use them to scrub your dishes. Mm-hmm. And I thought, okay, well, I know she doesn't want them. She was making them as, you know, she was making them because someone else was making them. And they said, oh, why don't you make these? These are cute. And maybe she was making them for her RV, but I can't really imagine that she really wanted them. So I didn't offer to give them to her when I was finished. Mm-hmm. That would be like taunting her maybe. But I can't imagine using them as scrubby things. I mean, food's going to get stuck in the little crochet holes and be in the middle in the net, and they're going to smell terrible, like almost right away, I think. Mm-hmm. So I think what I'm going to do is I have a work colleague who had a baby. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why I said they're not that scratchy, but I think I'm going to give them to her as bath toys.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Because they'll dry fast. One thing about stuffing them with net is that will help them dry faster.
Yes, yeah. That's probably why you do stuff them with net, is so they dry fast. Yeah. That's actually a really good idea. A bath toy is an excellent idea.
So we'll see. I mean, I don't want to scrub the baby's skin off, but
well, maybe they just play with them. They're not actually bathing.
Not actually use them as They're really not that rough, but yeah. Anyway, so so I finished that. I seriously have no idea why my mom was doing this. She has always made fun of me for doing fiddly toys. I think she got conned into doing this by someone in a weak moment. Someone said, "Oh, this will be fun, Carol. Let's do this project together." And she said, "Oh, okay." So those are done. And then she had also given me a project for these Rudolph the Reindeer ornaments. Mm-hmm. And those she had actually finished, all except the antlers. Mm-hmm. So there's these little, they have to be sewn together, but they have, the face, the ears, the Rudolph nose, the eyes. The ears are like 4 pieces, because you have to do 2 pieces for the big part of the ears, and then you sew those together. I don't know if you can hear in the background, the dogs are being put in their crates. They're joining me in the recording session here. Okay. So the 2 pieces of the ears, the outer part of the ears, and then there's 2 pieces that you sew on, one for each side for the inner part of the ear, and like everything has 2 pieces. Yes, I'm looking. It has a front and a back, here. And some of them you stuff, and some of them you don't. Then you just make them flat. So, where did she stop? She stopped on the antlers, and I now know why. Oh my God! This pattern. It says something like chain 2. So this is row 1. Chain 2, right? This is how you start. Mm-hmm. Single crochet. Like single crochet into what? It doesn't say turn. It doesn't say single crochet into the first chain or the second chain from the end or anything like that. And then row 2, single crochet. Into what? Doesn't say turn, doesn't say chain 1. All these rows as you go up, the antlers are single crochet. And then you have to make the Y of the antler. So you make an extra stitch. You do an increase to make an extra stitch. So you have this one stitch hanging out there that you're supposed to put a stitch marker into. And then you keep going, and then you come back to that other stitch and you do like the sort of Y shape of their antlers. With like one single crochet stacked on top of one single crochet. I could not for the life of me figure out how to do one single crochet into a prior one single crochet. I just could not do it. So finally I thought, you know what? I don't know why it's being done this way. Why not just chain a certain number, pick up from the middle of that and chain out to make the little Y, and then single crochet around the chain. Like a normal person. I shouldn't make fun. If I had more skill, maybe I could do. If I had more skill as a crocheter, maybe I could figure out how to single crochet into one single crochet and make a tall stack of single crochets, but I could not figure out how to do it. And so I just gave up and I made them. And with these antlers too, you have to make 2, and then you have to single crochet them together all the way around, these tiny little skinny things. Right? So you're trying to hold these tiny little skinny things, find a hole to, anyway, I know exactly why my mom stopped at this point, but by that time it had become like it was a challenge that I was not going to fail.
You were going to save this relationship, right?
Yes. Yes.
Keeping it with our falling out of love.
Exactly. I was going to do whatever it took. So I made my 6, because she's making 3 ornaments. I made my 6 antlers, which meant 12 antler pieces that had to be crocheted together. I made my 6 antlers. And now I just have to sew all the bazillion pieces together into reindeer faces. And then when you're
done, are you going to give it back to her?
Yes. When I'm done with these, I'm giving them back to her, and she can use them. She can use them to put them on people's packages or something. You know, when she wraps packages, she can put them on the packages. These are going back to her.
Well, I have to tell you, I'm looking at the projects. And there are 38 projects. Now, I've not clicked on every single one of them, but all the photographs of these reindeer little faces, and they are darling. They're very cute. There's only one. I have a feeling people only made one. And then we're done. Oh, wait a minute. I take it back. Here's 2, a picture of 2. Okay. So I don't know, but most of them are just a picture of one. So, well,
my mom was very ambitious and is making 3, and there's a ton of yarn left over. Again, this came in a kit, I think, because she has the yarn. She has big skeins of yarn that there's no way I'm going to make more of these. I can tell you that. No, 3 is enough. No one's getting any more than 3. I am not making anything more than the antlers and sewing them together. This is not a pattern I ever want to use again. Yeah. And these are crochet also. Yeah.
Okay. So, well, I'm laughing because I think this is a very appropriately named episode. Now that we're talking about all of this, everything that's our projects in our lives. So
yeah. I have to say, I like little. I mean, there's plenty of little fiddly crochet amigurumi things that I've made. I made all those Star Wars characters, right? But this is not. It was not fun. So I haven't looked at any of the Ravelry projects. I'll have to go and look at the Ravelry projects and see if anybody else was as perplexed by the antlers as I was. I've now closed out, but I was just looking at it, and as I said, there was just like a photograph of one.
And then, when you're just looking at the list of all of the projects, you're just a photograph of them, and you can see if there's project notes. Most of them, a lot of them are just no project notes. I don't know. So it'd be interesting to go read the ones that have project notes and see if they have problems. But So I wanted to ask you a question, but I don't want to stop you. Is that all of your projects?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Well, I wanted to ask you.
Yeah. Yes, that is it.
Well, my question I wanted to ask is, you mentioned like this summer, there's a lot of things that, this whole idea that maybe you need to change your Ravelry name to 99 projects. There's all these things that you want to do this summer that you've not been able to get to, and dog training. And I wanted to ask you posted a picture, or maybe you sent it to me. I think you didn't post on Instagram. You just sent me the picture of the training equipment that you bought for agility, right? Is it for agility?
So
I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, so I'm taking a class, and it's called The Joy of Healing, Rock It Like a Freestyler. Okay. So freestyle is that sort of dancing with your dog competition event. And the woman who's teaching the class, she does a lot of that, but she has a lot of really good fun games, because I want to compete with Bailey and get her title, her obedience title. I'd like to do obedience again. And healing is something that I really want it to look pretty and like it's fun, and she does a pretty good job, but I thought I could use some more training techniques for training healing in a way that is positive for the dog and makes it really fun and makes it look fun. Because they can just do it in a very plodding way. And still be fine. But it's nice if they, if they're actually having a good time. Yeah. And it's more fun to train if you have some training tools. So I'm taking this class, and one of the things they have you do, because for a dog to do that really pretty healing where they have their head up and they're sort of prancy, they need to have strength, right? Something I hadn't really thought about, but that takes strength. And so they have to kind of build up those muscles to be able to do that. Oh, okay. And have their weight on their rear to be able to be like looking up at you and doing that prancy thing. And learning to move with that style of movement is not something that is natural to a lot of dogs. So in this class, they have us doing as one of the sort of fitness things, something called cavalettis, which I didn't even know what those were. But apparently there's something they do with horses to teach them to kind of prance with their, keep their feet up. So I bought 2 sets. So I have 6, because they suggested that you have 5 or 6 of these low jumps that the dog basically trots over, lifting up their legs to go over these. So what I bought is 2 sets of cones. So it's like 2 cones for each jump, and the pole goes in and goes into the holes in the side of the cone. And the cone has like 3 heights of holes, so you can change the height of the holes. You can move the cones closer together to make them a little tighter, to make it a little bit more challenging for the dog to, fit themselves and have to go up instead of out with their feet. So anyway, I haven't done a lot of work with them. It was one of my things that I was like, oh my God, I cannot get to this. I got them out yesterday and measured, the distances and laid them all out, and we practiced a little bit. And then I'm videoing because I want to be able to see a little bit better my technique and their technique and stuff. So it's just, it's a lot more time consuming than put the leash on, go outside and do a little healing on the driveway. But it's been fun. The class is really interesting, and I've learned a lot. I have a lot of kind of tools that I didn't have before for helping the dogs do better in their healing. It's a 6-week class, and I think you have about 12 weeks worth of material. All of these online dog classes, I think I don't know how the people who are I'm just auditing. They have like these 3 levels, and I'm in the bronze level where I'm just auditing the class. I get to read everything, and I get to watch everybody else who submits their videos, but I don't submit anything. I honestly don't know how the people who submit videos have time to do anything except train the week's material, upload the videos. It just seems really time consuming. Although, once you do something, it gets a little easier. Right. But the videoing and getting everything set up has been interesting. And it's given me some good ideas. And we have a break from our regular dog training class, our group class. We have a break all the way to the beginning of October. So that'll give me some time to use these course materials, during our off time from the group class.
Okay.
But it really is a lot of, I think it's material for about 12 to 15 weeks of class rather than 6. And they say that, you don't have to do everything. You have all the information so you can use it later, that is kind of the idea. You don't have to do everything every week, submit the ones you're most interested in getting feedback on. So, it's not like people are submitting everything, but yeah, there's a lot of content in this class. And it's been one of those things where I just thought, okay, can I really go back to competing? Add something into my list, dog competing, which takes travel and weekends and training and I don't know. I think probably something is going to have to go on the back burner for a while if I'm getting to do that. And it, it's a time. Once she gets her title, then there'll be a break while we just do regular training. And then if I want to get the next title, which I don't know if I'll do that or not, but anyway, yeah, it's been like, okay, Kelly, how many of these things can you actually do at the same time? Like piano had to go and the Duolingo had to go. Well, it didn't have to, but that was my, what I chose to give up for a little while. Yeah, I want more time, Marsha. Can you figure out a way for us to have more than 24 hours in a day?
No, I cannot because, as I say, I don't have the big time consumer of work, and I still don't get a lot done.
Yeah. Yeah, just the summer has flown by.
Yeah. Well, and we were, not to go into another big thing about it, but we were talking before we started recording, too, that one of the things I've thought is, and it became really clear with this floor project, is I would be laying in bed in the morning and think, okay, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to take care of this today. And I would do one thing. And I said to you, I'd be, after 3 hours on my hands and knees filling holes, doing whatever I was doing on that floor, I had to then just go lay on the bed for a while with a cup of tea. It's like my brain is still the same as it was when I was 25, but my body's not 25 anymore. And I think I'm active and all that kind of stuff, but it's just harder to spend 3 hours on my knees and then get up, and so there's things that we want to do that sometimes we just have to go, okay, well, maybe I'll change that.
We have to, we have to make some some choices, right? Yeah. Well, and I was at so this is getting really long, but I did want to mention I was at the fleece judging.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yesterday. Really fun. I'll talk just a bit about some of the fleeces that'll be there at the auction. But I had not been to an Anne's Web Guild meeting for a long, long time. And it was, I went to the fleece auction last year and I said, I'm going to come back. And I never did. We had our ransomware attack and that meant my weekends were full of things that were taking more time for school. And anyway, so that's another thing to add to the list because I want to start going to those again. I want to prioritize that. It was so much fun to see, to see people that I used to spin with, once a month. And I thought, okay, I need to prioritize that. But then again, that's another activity added on to the list. So anyway, yeah. Time. Why can't it be infinite?
Well, and they always say it's about managing time, but after all these years, I still don't seem to be very good at it. So, anyway,
yeah.
Well, thinking of this fleece judging, going that we should, because I think we probably should finish up here because we are getting along on our our loss of love episode. events. So the summer spin-in continues. It ends Labor Day, May 29th. I'm sorry, Labor Day, September 4th. And so we still have a few weeks.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll get my project done in time. Kelly, you're going to the San Francisco Pen Show August
next
25th.
weekend.
Next August 25th through 27th.
Oh, no, the following weekend, yeah.
Okay. And so that's going on. And then you're going to go back to the wool auction, right? So the Monterey County Wool Auction is September 4th, Labor Day, at the Monterey County Fairgrounds. So let me know what you buy. I'm excited to hear.
Yeah, let me just talk just a little bit from the auction yesterday, just a little preview. One of the classes that I was really interested in, I didn't get to watch the full judging, but one of the classes that they have in the breed classes is Other. And I was really interested because under the Other, they have a really large class. So they have a Santa Cruz Island fleece, a Columbia fleece, a Baby Doll South Down, which I don't think they've ever had before. So that'll be cool. A Border Leicester, which that's the Leicester long wool, one of those breeds that, again, pretty rare for us to see it at our fair. Blue-faced Leicester, which is also not a common breed of fleece that we usually see at the fair, but there are several blue-faced Leicesters in different classes that'll be in the auction. A Dorset, which maybe I've seen one or two before, but again, not that common. I mentioned Columbia already, and then East Frisian. So I have to look at the breed characteristics and stuff of the East Frisian because it's a dairy breed. And so it's not common. It's not. I mean, a lot of sheep are dual purpose, but it's not that commonly seen in spinning. So I'm really kind of interested. There's one in this class, and I think there was another East Frisian in another one of the classes that I'm kind of interested in. I don't know anything about the fleece, and the only reason the only reason I'm interested in it is because I haven't spun it before, and that's always fun. But yeah, it was fun. The wool show, beautiful fleeces. Anybody who's local and thinking about coming for the auction, I would say definitely do. It was a pretty good crop of fleeces, it looked like, and kind of a lot of them too. The classes have been small in the post-COVID era. I mean, during COVID and post-COVID. So I think we're back to maybe the same size of auction that we had before. So anyway.
I'm interested in the Frisian fleece because I wonder if it's a breed from the Netherlands because they have Frisian horses in the Netherlands.
Oh, probably, yeah.
So I wonder if there's a connection. So
I'll have to look it up and check it out. And when I report on the auction, I'll talk, if I remember, help me remember to talk a little bit more about that. East Frisian. Well, I might even have a fleece, an East Frisian fleece to talk about. We'll see. It depends. I'm madly processing fleece because I want to be able to have a guilt-free auction.
Yeah. That's funny.
Making space in my garage for the new crop. Robert said, "You're not going to buy a new fleece, are you? A fleece, are you?" I'm like, "Well, of course. I mean, like, it's like you don't need any fleece." I said, "Nobody needs fleece."
Right. Yeah.
None of us need any of that. That's not the point.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm going to Lambtown, October 7th and 8th in Dixon. I'm taking a class on Saturday morning, and then I'll be hanging around the rest of Saturday and maybe part of Sunday before I head home. So
And is Robert going to go with you, or
I don't think so. I think it's going to just be me.
Okay.
We thought about taking the trailer, and he's like, "Oh, it's hot. It's it's the middle of a field. It's not. There's no trees, so I don't think he's really into it, which is fine.
Yeah,
it's fine. I'll go and hang out with wool friends at the wool show and buy some yarn. I think it's going to be pretty big this year because a lot of the vendors who usually vend at Stitches West are now thinking, thinking of this as maybe a local show that they can do. So it sounds like it's going to be bigger than usual, the marketplace, which could be really fun.
Yeah, no, it'll be great. Someday I'll make it down there.
Yeah. All right. Well,
okay.
Anything else?
No, I don't think so. Hopefully next episode we'll be back in love with all of our projects.
Stay tuned to hear about our project love lives.
It's like a soap opera, right?
Okay, Marsha. Bye-bye.
All right. We'll talk in 2 weeks. Bye.
Okay.
Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2usfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2Us
doing our part for World Fleece.